Hello, welcome to the next episode of the BSB show with Michael Mann and Michael Burton. We obviously colour coordinated. We called each other this morning. I thought, are you wearing green? Yeah, I'm going to wear green. Okay, in this show we've got a bit of a review of the Knockhill round. We've got a preview of Snetterton. We've got an interview with Christian Iddon. We've got a feature with Storm Stacey, so don't go anywhere. Okay, well, before we start looking at Snetterton coming up this weekend, let's just have a little bit of a recap, really, with Knockhill, north of the border, and what a glorious weekend it was too.
Yeah, it was lovely. I was dead surprised there was no rain. Always, when you go up to Knockhill, there's always chance of some rain somewhere, shape or form. But yeah, it was a real good weekend of racing as well. I don't think many people expected Kyle Ryde to be as strong as he was, but he was unbelievably strong, and I think proving a fair few doubters wrong as well. I was a little bit of a doubter heading into the weekend. Didn't think Kyle would be as strong as what he was. But yeah, it always proves to be, especially after the TT, how strong the BSB Championship is with the level of competition in there.
It got that Yamaha wound up nicely, and of course the Ducati was really, really powerful, weren't they? Out of that last corner, they had such a straight line advantage, or certainly an acceleration advantage. But Kyle did a great job all weekend. He was very, very good. Should we have a look at the highlights of what happened?
British Superbikes race 1 at Knockhill for round 4 of the championship got underway with Glenn Irwin on pole position, and despite being challenged into turn 1 by Jason O'Halloran on the McCamped Yamaha, Glenn Irwin would force his way through to the front. It was a good start also for the OMG Yamahas of Kyle Ryde and Ryan Vickers. A bit of drama though on the opening laps further back. Bridewell making contact with Charlie Nesbitt. How nobody went down there, I do not know. Irwin then on the start-finish straight made his move, getting past Jason O'Halloran on the slipstream before the approach to turn 1 and never looked back. Kyle Ryde then had a nibble at Jason O'Halloran later on as they challenged for second place. Meanwhile, further back, Leon Haslam was fending off Storm Stacey and Ryan Vickers. Ryan Vickers himself had a massive moment on the approach to the hairpin and managed to avoid any contact with riders, rejoined in 10th, but then managed to get himself in the top 8. Haslam was trying to stay in 4th place. Bridewell, though, had forced his way through from 10th on the grid to get up into 4th, but was never going to catch the leading trio up ahead. As the laps counted down, there was a crash for Charlie Nesbitt whilst he was up in the top 8. And Christian Iddon made a lovely move on Leon Haslam to go up into 5th down at the hairpin. Out front, comfortably leading, Glenn Irwin was reeling out the laps, consistently in the mid-47s, not allowing Kyle Ryde anywhere near him. And as the checkered flag was being made ready, it was Irwin that picked up the glory. The first win of the weekend here at Knockhill, going to Irwin on the Beer Monster Ducati, his 3rd of the season, with Kyle Ryde coming home in 2nd and Jason O'Halloran 3rd. It was a Yamaha lockout of the front row for race 2 of the Bennetts British Superbike Championship at Knockhill, with Jason O'Halloran on pole and getting the whole shot ahead of Kyle Ryde and Ryan Vickers into turn 1, with Glenn Irwin in 4th place, looking for his 2nd victory of the weekend. Kyle Ryde launched out to the front, making a good move on Jason O'Halloran, and Glenn Irwin then got alongside Ryan Vickers to move up into 3rd spot. Further back, Christian Iddon moved up into the top 6 with that lovely move on number 14, Lee Jackson. On the approach to turn 1, further back on the grid, Tommy Bridewell was having to get his gloves off as he made a move on Lee Jackson and then hunted down Josh Brooks. And he was picking them off one by one. After going through on Christian Iddon, he made his move on Ryan Vickers as well. Big launch out front though for Jason O'Halloran, and then it went a bit wrong, a bit deeper around the hairpin. Kyle Wright came back at them, and the pair of them were caught napping because the power of the Ducati came up alongside them. Glenn Irwin, 2 for 1, moved up into P1 in pursuit of the double victory at Knockhill. By this time, Tommy Bridewell had moved up into 4th place, trying to get himself his first podium of the weekend. Jason O'Halloran went through on Kyle Ride into the hairpin and almost wiped the tail unit out of Glenn Irwin. But there was to be some drama at the hairpin for Glenn Irwin. Everything was going so well until this tiny error at the hairpin. He crashed out whilst leading, meant he was down and out. This left Kyle Ride out front on his own. Tommy Bridewell had gone through on Jason O'Halloran for 2nd place. And in the closing stages with the checkered flag out waiting, Kyle Ride picked up his first ever win at Knockhill ahead of Tommy Bridewell and Jason O'Halloran. Christian Iddon was on pole position for the 3rd and final race at Knockhill for Bennetts British Superbikes in 2023, but it was the McCann's Yamaha of Jason O'Halloran that got the whole shot into turn 1 ahead of Iddon, with the Beer Monster Ducatis of Bridewell and Irwin in 3rd and 4th. On the start-finish straight, Tommy Bridewell made his move from 3rd up to 2nd with a neat move on the approach into turn 1. The Beer Monster Ducati rider going up into 2nd place. But there would be drama for Jason O'Halloran, crashing at the chicane whilst leading and not happy about it either. Glenn Irwin then picked his way through the pack. He'd got past Ryan Vickers. He then made his move on Iddon to go up into the top 3. Leon Haslam, in the meantime, was fighting through the pain barrier of his dislocated shoulder from a fortnight ago, fighting with Ryan Vickers. Irwin then made his move on Kyle Ride to make it a Beer Monster Ducati 1-2 at the front. And then Christian Iddon made a move on Kyle Ride in pursuit of his first podium of 2023. It was a Ducati 1-2-3 at this point when Glenn Irwin then made his move on his teammate, getting the drive out of the final hairpin, and the move stuck through turn 1. Tommy Bridewell kept him very honest, but just could not get by. Further back, Ryan Vickers went through on Kyle Ride, and Christian Iddon made a hash of the hairpin going straight on, kissing goodbye to his hopes of a podium. There were good rides for Tom Neve, but Charlie Nesbitt had a horror weekend. His 3rd crash of the weekend meant his chances of a top 10 had gone awry. Lee Jackson pushed his way through to 5th place with this move on Leon Haslam, but it was Irwin who cruised to victory ahead of his teammate Tommy Bridewell. Bridewell takes the championship lead, but Irwin does the double here in Scotland.
Cool, yeah, mega close racing as always, and it's such a short circuit, isn't it? I mean, you can always guarantee that the front 2 or 3 or 4 are all going to finish in such a tight space. Mm-hmm. But it was nearly an Irwin triple, wasn't it?
Very nearly. Yes, he made just a slight mistake in the second race on Sunday, which obviously you've just seen him crashing out, and really unfortunate. And I think he said after that race that it was his mistake at the end of the day. He just made a mistake, and it was a real shame because Glenn was looking really, really strong over the full weekend, really, and to me proved how strong that Ducati package is with Glenn Irwin on board. All three of them after the sprint race on Saturday said they were expecting the pace to be a lot hotter because they were pushing so hard in practice that they were expecting the pace to be a lot hotter and a lot quicker than what it was in the sprint race. And all three of them said afterwards, we could have pushed even more because we gave more in practice. So they were quite surprised at how, not how slow the pace was in the first race, sure, and across all 3 races really, but just how much of a difference there was in terms of race pace from practice compared to the actual races.
Do you think a lot of that's down to tactics?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. Trying to just slow the pace down a little bit, trying to conserve the tyre wear a little bit.
Obviously, the 20 lapper in the sprint race is a little bit different to the 30 laps of races 2 and 3.
Yeah, it is a little bit different. But again, in terms of that, I would have expected somebody to really pull away at the front in the sprint race because it's only 10 because it's 10 laps shorter. But to me they didn't, and I was quite surprised to hear that they weren't pushing as hard as what they were in practice, and quite a lot of other riders were saying that as well. I spoke to Dan Linfoot just before the race on Sunday, and he said exactly the same. He said he felt he was pushing harder in practice, but in the race the lap time came easier than what it was in practice.
Sure, maybe it's more critical to get a decent grid position, isn't it, than perhaps to shoot off at the front. And also, you want to be I don't know. Would you want to be at the front, or would you want to be the chasee to kind of just work out where you're quicker? Or
I suppose it's 6 1 and half a dozen of the other. I mean, we're better off asking a racer that question. Better probably not asking me, but. I think especially around there, I think ideally you want to be out front, you want to be leading.
Yeah.
It's such a short lap, and you want to try and pull as much of a gap as you possibly can. But you didn't see that in all 3 races across the weekend at Knockhill.
So there was a bit of an attrition rate, wasn't there, as well? We had 7 out in race 2 at DNF, 8 I think it was possibly in race 3. One of whom was Jason O'Halloran, who was leading at the time. Kind of felt for him a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, I did feel for Jason in that one because he'd put in such a good weekend. And it was good to see him back on the podium. Good to see him in that battle for the lead as well, because we've not really seen that from Jason all year. To be fair, I think it would be fair to say that he has struggled a little bit this year. And in that second race, when you saw him get the second race on Sunday, when you saw him get out front, I thought, well, that's Jason gone now. Jason, he's gonna pull away. And just unfortunately, just took the front at turn 8 or 9, something like I can't remember exactly what it's called. As you go up the hill, anyway, it's quite a fast one. And you often see quite a lot crash there. Charlie Nesbitt crashed there, I think 3 times over the weekend. It caught him out quite a few times. So, but yeah, it was nice to see Jason up there. And I just think he now needs to just keep that momentum rolling into Snetterton.
So let's look at. We had Erwin ride Erwin. Bridewell was on the podium 3 times, a third and 2 seconds, and it's been a season of consistency. We are now over a third of the way through the season already. Would you believe? After 12 races, and it's Bridewell who leads the way marginally. What's he got? A 8-point lead, and then over Carl Ryder, who's got 3 points over. Advantage over Glenn Irwin, but it's consistency, isn't it? With Bridewell?
Consistency is key. Consistency is key in any championship. We were literally talking about this in the office earlier. That how important it is to be consistent in a championship. You saw Nicky Hayden, 2003. He won 1 race in Motor Grand Prix and became a world champion just from winning one race. It's not very often you see that, and I think Andrew Pitt as well in World Supersport when he won his championship. I don't think he won a race. So it's important to keep the consistency, and Tommy's been very consistent this year. I think he's had 1 DNF, which actually wasn't his fault. I think it was a mechanical fault at Donington Park.
Yeah.
Ever since then, he's more or less been either on the podium or he's been very close to the podium.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And it just shows how important consistency is, especially in BSB, and leading the way by 8 points in what is the revised format. It'd be interesting to work out the points. I'm not that much of a nerd to work out the points yet, but I think I probably will do. As to how much of a gap he would have had so far last year, if it was this year, if you know what I mean. If we had the old format, but it's really exciting. I mean, if you look at the points now, I think 27 points cover the top 3, something like that.
Top 5 actually. With Brooks and Haslam equal on points in 4th and 5th.
So it's really, really, really close, and that's what everybody wants.
In fact, in talking about Brooks and Haslam, they are 2 of the 3 riders who have scored in every round so far. So yeah, consistency key. Not a particularly strong place, Knockhill, for BMW.
No, it's not. It
Which is
doesn't really
surprising.
suit the BMW. Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, saying that, Danny Buchan absolutely storms it more often than not this year, which we'll come on to. But it just didn't really suit the BMW this year. I don't know if it was everybody hears about it, and it's a bit of a strange one that the BMW doesn't work well in heat, in hot conditions. Peter Hickman always says that it works better when it's a little bit cooler. And if you weren't at Knockhill, it was incredibly hot, especially during the sprint race on the Saturday. It was really hot. Sunday was a little bit cooler, But again, you just saw. I don't know if it was a little bit of a TT hangover or whatever for the FHO guys, but they had quite a difficult weekend. Leon Haslam was struggling with an injury from the unofficial test that they had there at Knockhill a couple of weeks before. I think it was a dislocated shoulder or something, or it was a shoulder injury anyway. So you just didn't see the BMWs perform to the best of their ability. But I'm sure you'll see them back up there at Snetterton this weekend.
They'll be doing a little rain dance, no doubt. Okay, so other people that performed well, or who are... Look, I've just written man in form in my notes. Ryan Vickers.
Yeah, Ryan Vickers. Yeah, really, really in form. Good to see. Like I think I mentioned it in the last one. It's really nice to see Ryan up there. He was close to the podium in the second race on Sunday, and got that podium then in the third race. So it's nice to see. I think he's now got a bit of a taste for it. Taste of the champagne, taste of the podium, and I think you're probably going to see a little bit more from Ryan this weekend. It is his home round.
Home round, yeah.
Home round hero. So I can imagine he's out there to prove a point. Probably wants to go one or two better. Especially one better from his best result of second. Yeah. And it suits the Yamaha. I think everyone knows that Snetterton does suit the Yamaha.
He's on the bike that won all 3 races last year.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So they've got the data. They know exactly what sort of ballpark that bike needs to be in ahead of the weekend. Ryan's kind of fighting fit now after his wrist injury. So yeah, he was a man in form at Knockhill. Another man in form for me there, and unfortunately in the last race made a little bit of a mistake, was Christian Iddon. It was really nice to see Christian back up the front. They've had a little bit of a trouble, few troubles this year in terms of electronics. They've done something really different with the Motec electronics on that Motorapido Ducati. And it's just not really clicked for Christian. But this at Knockhill, they seem to find it in the right window. They're still not close to where they want to be, but they're closer. So I was really impressed with Christian, and unfortunately, I think I was the biggest sort of biggest upset on that Sunday race was to see Christian make that slight mistake, just hit that bump, and he just couldn't get it stopped into the hairpin. Which we saw Ryan Vickers do that on the Saturday, I think it was a Saturday, the sprint race. Nearly took someone out. It's just that really nasty bump as you hit the brakes, just unsettles it a little bit, and unfortunately Christian ran into the gravel, and he finished ninth. So he was in a podium spot as well.
Yeah, he had a pair of fifths and now a ninth. So yeah, coming on strong though. And let's segue nicely into an interview you got with Christian Iddon.
So, Christian, first of all, welcome to Bennetts Bike Social. From the outside seems to be a positive weekend. Just unfortunately, the results just don't show it. Just how do you feel after what's been a fairly productive weekend for you?
Yeah, actually, complete struggle streak to start with. Like, just couldn't find a flow, couldn't find a feeling with the bike. Pretty much all year, apart from I'd say Donington Race 3, I've just not quite found my sweet spot with this bike yet. And here was probably worse than anywhere really. I just couldn't make it work, couldn't get the lap time, and around here you lose a little bit, you lose a lot. Couldn't put any string of laps together, I felt like I'd do 5 laps and feel like I'd do 50, like I was just fighting the bike, and a lot of that's probably me as well. The more you push around here, you can create a lot of problems for yourself, and sort of got into one of them vicious cycles of me pushing harder and the bike not taking it, and me pushing harder and the bike not taking it. So we had a good first race. I went from 12th to 5th, and that was a real good one because we were finally sort of showing that I had a bike that I could overtake on, which was nice, making some moves and feeling pretty good. And then the first race today, we made another step with the bike, and was pretty much in the leading group on the back of it until I made a mistake, a small mistake. Just lost the rear at the hairpin, and lost the gap to the front. But put it on pole, so it shows that we were quick anyway in that race, so that was good. It shows that we got pace. And then that last race, I was actually feeling the most comfortable and confident I had done all weekend. running in third, I'd just passed Carl, and I think we'd started to get a gap, the three of us. And I felt good enough that I felt like I wanted to try and hunt down the two PBM bikes. We'd made a gearing change for that race, and I was in two minds what to do at the hairpin. All weekend I've been using a different gear, and in that race I was so much stronger on the way in, but then losing on the way out, which has been a real strong point. You know, all weekend I've been super strong out the last corner and a good passing point into turn one. And I kept thinking I need to try the other gear, but with a different gear, and I just didn't dare do it. And then one lap I just lifted the rear and couldn't get it back on the ground quick enough that I could pull the brake again, and went straight on into the gravel. Didn't crash, but that was it. Not race done. I think we finished 10th or 9th or something like that. It's a shame. These guys deserve a podium, and well, everyone in this paddock deserves a podium, but you know, like, it would be nice to reward them with a podium. And I'd quite like one, to be fair. So, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. You know, it's hard to get into those situations in this championship, and it's a while since I've been in that sort of situation. And yeah, this time I balled it up. So hopefully I won't do that again next time.
Are you feeling a bit more confident now? Now you've been at the front. You started on pole for the third race. You know, really passing people and showing the old Christian that everybody knows on a Ducati. Do you feel a bit more confident heading home now?
Not
or is there still
no.
a lot?
Yeah,
is there still a lot to do?
I think there's still a lot to do. There's a big difference between being able to run the pace and being able to run the pace comfortably. I started to get there in that race. I actually felt better probably at Donington in the last race, but I started to get there in that race. I was actually able to think about things a little bit more. When you're starting to get comfortable, you've got time to think. When you're not comfortable, you're just going corner to corner. So in that race for the first time this weekend, I started to sort of be able to breathe a little bit. But no, the bike's still not mine. That's not to say it's the fault of the bike or the team. It's just something at the moment we've not quite found that sweet spot. And when we find it, it's not necessarily you're going to see me suddenly reload speed. You probably won't even notice, but me within myself, I'll be able to relax a bit more. And when you find that sweet spot, you can play with the bike. You're not on a wing and a prayer. You're more just you know exactly what it's going to do. You know you're the master of it. Whereas at the moment, it's kind of a 50-50 relationship. You know, sometimes I tell it what to do, and sometimes it's telling me what to do. So we need to sort of stamp my authority on it. But yeah, it just needs a bit more compliance and a bit more understanding. It's taking way longer than it should have done. My results are still not acceptable, but it's hard, you know. This championship's not easy. Everyone's pushing super hard, and so are we. So we'll keep trying. Snet's up next. Yeah. I've won there, so on a Ducati. So.
What areas do you feel that you're missing in? Is it electronics? Is it chassis setup?
No,
or is it just a combination of a little bit of everything?
It really is a little bit of everything. It really is. It is just a feel, and it's something that you can't see on a computer. It's not, you know, we've got all the computers in the world to analyse everything, you know, But what engineers will never be able to see is what a rider feels, and it's that sensation, you know. Almost in a way, you could have a bike that wouldn't have the ultimate lap time, but if you can get the most out of it, maybe you can get a better lap time or a better race run. And we made a step that way. So yeah, we've had a lot of things with electronics, and we've had a big disconnect, I feel, for a lot of the season between what I do with my hand and what happens at the rear wheel. That seems to be really coming together. And again, another step in that race. It was a little bit easier for me to understand, a little bit easier for me to ride, a little bit easier for me to make movements and not upset the bike so much. So yeah, every bit we're making steps and understanding. Yeah, it's just putting it together. It's,
do you feel like you just need a little bit more time on the bike? I know that sounds a silly question, but when you're at a race weekend, you're kind of chasing your tail.
Yeah,
a little
you
bit,
are. You know, time goes so fast. We've obviously we had the Spanish testing. The Spanish testing was weird for us. We had a few things happen there, and then we pretty much lost round one. with really weird, not through the team's fault, but electronic things. Alton was fine, but I had a massive disconnect with what the bike was doing and what I was doing. But it was no issues, so we kind of got some time there. We didn't do the Alton test, and we didn't do the Knockhill test. Donington, we had everything thrown at us. We lost all 3 free practices with, again, a faulty part, nothing to do with the team, but another faulty part. So we basically lost all of Friday and half of Saturday at Donington, you know, like, so actually seat time for me has been short. And then we had another fault on Friday here. But it's just been one of them things, you know, it's just happened, it's just been that way. And yeah, you just miss those little bits of getting yourself bedded in with the bike, the track, understanding what's going on. The lap times are so close, it's literally just about just finding those little bits of comfort. And yeah, I keep saying it that I know what I'm capable of and I know what the team's capable of. I can only keep saying it for so long.
Yeah.
We're not doing a bad job, you know, let's not be too like down on things.
Downbeat, yeah.
You know, like we were just fighting for a podium and I made one mistake, you know. But yeah, we
do you feel like you're close to that sweet spot?
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We really are. You know, to be at the front, and then literally then I passed Kyle and thought, right, okay, get your head down. You can catch. Didn't look like he had pace, but I thought we can certainly have a good go back at Tommy. And yeah, just one bad shift, pick the rear wheel up, and then you just like a passenger going into the gravel, like going, oh my god, like no, really. And that's all it takes, you know. You do 30 laps of 9 corners, whatever it is around here, and there's a lot of opportunities to make a balls up, and I made one that doesn't mean it's acceptable, but you know, it's a mistake. You've got to accept it and learn from it and move on.
Snetterton up next, finally, just Snetterton up next. The place where you took your first BSB win holds happy memories for you. You're heading there, like you just say, not too far away from the sweet spot. You must be feeling fairly confident heading into there, knowing what a Ducati can do and what you can do around there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't really like the track, it's boring. Well, it's not boring, I just wish, you know, when they redid it, I just wish they'd put some humps and bumps in it, like they had the opportunity. They've got bulldozers and stuff, like, I just wish they'd done something with it. It's so flat. So yeah, I don't particularly, like, it's not one I look forward to all of them. I don't dislike any tracks, but you know, like, it's just the one that bores me the most. But it is good for the bike, or it has been in the past. I think there's so much of a level playing field this year, it's incredible. So I think gone are the days where you go to a track and go, you know, this is a Yam track, this is a Ducati track, this is a Kawasaki track, whatever it is, you know, whatever the brand, I think that's not a thing anymore. But to look on the positive side, Ducatis have typically been good there, so, you know, should be good. And yeah, track to track, Snet's a nice place to, you know, it's a nice part of the country. I'm going to go with a caravan a few days early and spend a bit of time with my mate, so hopefully I'll be well rested and chilled when I get there and we'll have a good weekend of racing.
Well, Christian, thanks very much for your time and we'll see you at Snetterton.
Very interesting. Always a very intelligent man to talk to if ever you get a chance to speak to Christian in the paddock or away from the paddock. It's well worth your time. So just before we move on from Knockhill, I want to give a big shout out to Tom Neve. He was a one-man team. If you look back at this time last year with Honda Racing, of course they had 4. But yeah, all focus was on him for Knockhill, and he didn't disappoint.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He had a real strong weekend. In the points, I think in the first race on Saturday, 15th,
yeah. And then an 8th and a 7th.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, all right, a few people crashed in front of him, etc., but you've still got to finish the race. And to finish in 7th, you know, I think that's his best ever BSB result. Yeah. Was a real. I think it just showed how strong Tom is on that machine. Everyone knows he's strong. You know, he's a national superstock champion. You don't just get given those. You've got to earn them, especially on the Fireblade as well. And the Fireblade it's a tricky bike to get right. And I think it's been proven that this year that it is quite a tricky bike to get right in the right window. And it just feels like they've found that window now for Tom. And hopefully this weekend at Snetterton he can kick on and try and get into the top 5. Yeah.
Again, a shout out for, well, we all sit here every episode and we all talk about those who had a good weekend, those who had a bad weekend, and you can kind of merge them together and talk about Charlie Nesbitt.
Yeah, a weekend of two halves for Spud. I mean, real strong on Friday, really strong on Saturday morning in qualifying, and then just a nightmare 3 races. And I think we kind of saw this last year in Superstock, where we would have a real good Friday, a real good qualifying, and then he would crash out of the race, or he would do something really silly, and it feels to me a little bit like that, and it feels like he's getting all of his crashes out of his way early and learning the series, learning the bike, learning the team, and I think you will see steady progression from Charlie. It's just a shame to see him crash out, because he is doing so well, just not when he needs to do well. Do you know what I mean? He needs to do well in the races, and to crash out in all 3 races and to walk away with no points after being so strong Friday and Saturday morning is a real shame. But I can imagine that you'll see something from him this weekend.
Yeah, he's definitely one to watch, whether it's this weekend, this season or beyond. Quick word on TT hangover. So I'll group Mr. Hickman and Davey Todd as well, who was an absentee from Knockhill.
Yeah, so a bit of a TT hangover. We don't like to mention the TT too much now, because obviously it's been and gone, but especially at Knockhill, it was literally the week after the TT, after the senior. So it felt like Hickey had a big hangover. Josh Brooks never really goes well at Knockhill. I don't think he really likes the place. It just doesn't suit him, especially coming from the TT. You're going from one of the longest and fastest tracks in the world to one of the shortest and kind of one of the slowest tracks in the world. So it's very much tailored two halves. And like you mentioned there as well, Davey Todd wasn't. Him and Padgett's were absent from Knockhill. We're not entirely sure as to why. I've seen Davey was on holiday, so maybe the team just decided, it was too much to go straight from the TT straight to Knockhill. Of course, people also forget they have got a dealership to run as well, so it's not like that they can just close it for 3 weeks of the year, 4 weeks of the year. So hopefully we see Davey back at Snetterton. Yeah,
I hope so. Quick word, because you'll all be shouting at the screen saying, what about Storm Stacey? It's such a great race. Deliberately we've left him until now, and you'll see why. So 8th, 7th of DNF, again, great weekend for him in terms of his,
mega
showing
weekend.
His pace.
Yeah, mega weekend. He's really, really impressing me this year, is Storm. And the last few years, I think it's been fair to say he's been probably one of the also-rans. They're just in there, not to make the numbers up, but just in there because the team have always been there, that kind of thing. Been a bit of a change in Storm's garage this year, so there's no more Jeff Crust in that team. He was kind of sort of part of the furniture at GR Motorsport. Jeff's now not in there. He's got a different crew chief, data sort of analyst, if you like, in Aaron Zanotti, who used to race in Superbike. So he knows his way around a Superbike and what a bike should feel like. And it's proof in the pudding that a change is good as anything. Storm's up there. It's probably not on the most competitive of packages. Let's be fair. It's not a factory-backed outfit. But the GR Motorsport guys and Brent put everything into it. It turned out a real nice-looking bike. And Storm is now really showing what he can do. And I think everybody forgets how young Storm is.
Absolutely.
I don't, I don't officially know how old he is. He's definitely younger than me. He must be about 20,
I think
21,
he's 20.
Something like that.
Well, if I remember, it was 20. It would have been the year of coronavirus, so 2020, when he was 16, just about to turn 17 for his debut season of BSB.
Yeah.
So
I think he was like the when he tested the Superbike back in the winter of 19, probably. Or 18, I can't really remember. He had to get special dispensation from MSV to do that because because of his age, and it's just showing how mature he actually is for such a young kid.
Let's hear from the man with the top hat right now.
Storm Stacey, welcome to Bennetts Bike Social. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope your pudding was very nice.
Yeah, it was all right.
What a season you're having. I mean, did you expect it to be so good? Because the last few years have been a little bit tough, fair to say. Did you expect it?
I think it's been a long time coming. I think the past 2 years we've been in a bit of a rut and struggling. We seem to have changed a few things up in the team through winter, and I've changed myself a lot as a rider and what my approach is to going racing and what it is I want. And yeah, I genuinely believe what we're doing is calculated. It's what we've come here and planned to do. Obviously, we always want to do well, but we've got a really good plan of how we're going to do it. The team have put a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff together through the winter, through like good engines and stuff like that. Silverstone, obviously, we had a bit of a shitter with the engines blowing up, but it's racing at the end of the day. We haven't had one blow up since. Touch wood. But no, this weekend's going really well. P5 in FP1. Should have been P5, P4 in FP2, but got penalised a few times. I just like blue. Trucks used to be blue, I missed it. So yeah, it's racing, is what it is. P8 in that last race and top Kawasaki, can't moan.
What are the things that have changed behind the scenes in the team, but also with yourself? Are you viewing this more as a job now, not as a hobby, or are you?
Yeah, 100%. I've been like, I've not worked properly for like 2 years now, so it's always been my job, and I don't know, it's a hard one because like I was working with Jeff Crust and that a lot over the years and stuff, and we don't have Jeff now, and now I don't know if I didn't know if that was a good thing or not at the time. I didn't know if it was going to work or it wasn't going to work. But I do strongly believe change is good. And I think anything my mechanics are going to want to do now, Dogs and Aaron, I think what they're going to do is they're going to want to show that they're better than him. They just are. Like, they're not going to want to do a bad job. So either way, I was in the good place. But that's one of the things we've changed. And yeah, just being happier, just chilling out. Like, there were a lot of tension in the team last year. Like when it wasn't going right, kind of like bashing heads like, why is it not going right? Not sitting down and thinking, how can we make this be all right? Which is what we do now, when we just have a laugh, we have a good time. If we take the bad with the good and the good with the bad, whatever the saying is.
The rough with the smooth.
Yeah, exactly. So if we're having a bad weekend, the whole team, like we're still having a good time. You've got to have a good time. You can't let it drag on. You've got 11 rounds to be happy. You've got to try and be happy all the time.
Obviously, the bike. You've been on the bike for what, 3-4 years now, maybe a little bit more. Just how much more development do you think you can do with it, and the team can do with it? Because, as people will say, the Kawasaki is a little bit long in the tooth now. It isn't a new bike like the BMW and the Fireblades and the Ducatis. Do you still think there's a little bit more to come from the ZX10? Or are you happy with the package that you've got?
I don't know. Piss with the dick you've got, isn't it?
I suppose that's a good phrase. I use it a lot.
Well, yeah, no, it's like we had a factory swing arm to try. We tried it in Spain, didn't like it, so we run the old swing arm still. It's gone all right today. It's gone all right all season. So why change something if it works?
Are you surprised at how strong you've been so far this year? I know how confident you are as a person. But
I genuinely believe I could have been in top 5 podium wise sooner than what I am now. When I got on 3rd place at Upton Park on qualifying, everyone was saying well done, well done, well done. I was like, well, it's about time. Like, I've been knocking on the door trying to do this every weekend, and then I get it and everyone's like, wow, where's that come from? Well, it ain't come from nowhere. I've been trying. Like, it is what it is, isn't it? It's racing.
Well, obviously we're here at Knockhill, and just after the Bike Social Sprint race, and you've been duffing it up with people like Leon Haslam and people like that. Do you go past him and think, oh my god, I've just passed Leon Haslam, or do you just think, get out my way, you're slowing me down?
I literally said this to like my mum and a fella before when I came back to the truck, like my pace was quite good, and I just couldn't get past Leon, and I managed to pass him, and he got me down the start and finish on power. I just couldn't get that bit on him, and I genuinely believe if I'd have been in front of him, I had more pace to be able to go with the front of guys. And I said to him, I said it's mad to say Leon Haslam was like holding me up. How? But you've got to keep. I think it's good to keep like that, because you're like, wow, it's Leon Haslam. But at the end of the day, I'm racing against him. He's no different to any other person. I battled with him before. It's one of them. If it were Valentino Rossi, I'd still go up the inside. It's one of them, innit? I wouldn't go out of pit lane while Marquez is coming into turn 1 though.
Yeah, we'll not mention that. You seem obviously you are a happy person, but I've a new missus on the go, I believe, at the minute as well. That seems to have made you a lot happier. You've got a big smile on your face. Is that playing a big part of it as well, behind the scenes? Happy family, happy life?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know, yeah. Just all the family's into bikes. I think that's what I needed. I needed people with bikes, just love bikes. I need to be on bikes all the time. I'm just mad for bikes, just love bikes. But no, she said to me, oh, she's like, oh, do you want to see me this weekend? And I'm like, yeah, I do, yeah. And she's like, oh, why? And I'm like, well, you make me happy, and when I'm happy, I'm fast. So, whatever, innit? I was really happy single. When I was through the winter, I'd split up with my ex-girlfriend, and I was so happy single, just cracking on, doing my YouTube and stuff like that. Just busy, keep myself busy, and I was so happy. I wasn't looking for anyone. And then I took her out on a date, and I wasn't interested at all, and then, boom, it's happened, and we love her to bits, she's all right.
Okay, so proof in the pudding, happy wife or happy girlfriend, happy life.
Yeah. If you're happy, then do you, don't you?
Yeah, it's proving good on the circuit. So this year, obviously, have you set yourself now any targets? Have you set yourself any maybe improved goals or any improved targets than what you set yourself at the start of the year?
Our target is always to be top Kawasaki, because if we say the Kawasaki's long in the tooth, well, you can't compare yourself to the rest of the grid then, can you? Because you can only compare to what you're on, and if we're top Kawasaki, then we're doing the best we can do, can't we? But if sponsors would like some top fives and stuff, which I wouldn't mind either, so let's crack on, aren't we?
Do you think you put yourself firmly in the shop window for next year with what you're doing? I know we're only at round 4, but you know as well as I know, silly season comes around very quickly. Do you think you put yourself in the shop window, or are you actually really happy where you are? There's no need for a change.
I don't know, give me some offers. Nah, I'm only joking. Nah. If you're happy where you are, I think stick with it. Why ruin something good? You've got a good job at Bennetts, why would you leave? It's the way it is, isn't it? It's working really well. I firmly believe if we have a really strong season this year, I believe Brent will put his back out trying to make it even better next year. But that's how Brent is with me. He tries to always give me the best he can, and I appreciate that so much. So no, I don't know. I don't know why I'd change, and if I did, I've not a clue where I'd go.
Well, Storm, thank you very much for your time. I'll let you get back to the team, and good luck for the rest of the weekend, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Right, well, if you haven't checked out Storm's own YouTube channel, he's very active in social media, as he would be, because he's 20, and that's what 20-year-olds do. Fine, moving on. Snetterton this weekend, 3 races on the 300 circuit. As we've mentioned already, Brad Ray was dominant on that Yamaha last year. So, do you declare it a Yamaha circuit? Are we looking at a Carl Ryan Vickers show?
You forgot Jason O'Halloran in that as well.
Yes. And a potential new teammate.
Yes, potential.
As
maybe.
we record this, there is still no news.
There's still no news, but there potentially is a new person going into that garage, so you'll have to wait and see. Whether if it's Yamaha circuit, yes, it is. It does tend to suit the Yamahas quite nicely, as you saw from Bradley Ray last year. But it's also a Ducati circuit as well. I'm going back a long time, 2017. Shaky Byrne was strong on the Ducati, but Josh Brooks was strong on the Yamaha as well. So it kind of it mix and match between the Yamahas and the Ducatis. I can potentially see it being a bit of a dogfight and a shootout between Glenn, Tommy, Kyle, Ryan, and potentially Christian, because Christian, like we've just mentioned earlier, is coming into a bit of good form.
Yeah, he won on Ducati there 2 years ago.
Yes, he did. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I think, like I've just said, it does suit the Yamaha quite nicely, but it also suits the Ducati quite well. So everybody wants to see a bit of a dogfight. Everybody wants to see some good battles. We always see that in BSB, and like I can't see it being anyone else really. Other than I'm probably going to be clipping this up as a meme after this weekend if Leon Haslam proves me wrong. But yeah, I can see it being between a Yamaha and a Ducati this weekend.
Anyone we should be looking out for? Who do you think might run well at Snetterton? In terms of historically, who's gone well there?
Historically, Christian's gone well there on the Ducati. You mentioned that he won there in 2020, I think it was. Glenn has gone well there in the past as well on the Honda. It was unfortunate it was a bit of controversy for him to not get a podium last year with the safety car issue, which we'll probably show you in a little bit anyway. So Glenn always goes strong there. Tommy's quite strong there as well. I could write every single name down on there as to who will be strong. Josh is quite strong around there as well. It is a bit of a European, Josh Brooks that is, it is a bit of a European style circuit which suits him a little bit more. He likes the kind of flowing nature of it. The long straights as well will potentially suit the BMW and the Aero.
Hickey got a podium, didn't he?
Hickey got a podium there last year. It all, again, depends on the weather, whether if it's going to be red hot like it has been the last couple of weeks. It's all going to be about tyre conservation and who conserves the tyre the best. And if that's the case, it probably will be the Ducatis or Kyle Ryde. But I don't think you can discount Ryan. He's at Ryan Vickers' home circuit, coming in there with a lot of form, happy as well, big smile on his face. So it's going to be interesting.
Do you know, there's a team that we don't mention a lot, or haven't mentioned a lot this year, and they deserve a bit more of a mention, and that's the FS3 team with Max Cook and Lee Jackson. And of course, Lee is, I mentioned it earlier on, Lee's the third of those 3 riders who has scored in every round. So, consistency is there, but it's not...
Yeah, just not up there. I think, Lee finished 5th in the last race at Knockhill. They're starting to make big headway with that bike. Like I've mentioned in previous episodes, they've got a little bit more support from the factory this year. There's different parts on that bike in terms of the swing arm, the way the characteristics of the engine as well. So I think it may just be taking a little bit of time for Lee to get his head around. He was so happy on last year's bike with the different parts that maybe he's just trying to get his head around these new parts. And he is starting to make a lot of headway. He is starting to, and as you've mentioned, he's finished every race. He's not been in it, so he's riding within himself. So hopefully this weekend we start to see a little bit more from Lee, because finishing every race is great, but if you're not picking up maximum points, you're sort of starting to lose lose your grip on that top 4, top 3. So hopefully this weekend we see a little bit more from him. And Max, again, a bit of a struggle at Knockhill, I think it's fair to say. He did crash out in one race at the hairpin. Got points in the last race. We all have to remember it is his rookie year. And he is coming in from stock 600, so he's never ridden 1,000 until this year. So you can't expect him to jump off a 600 and go straight onto 1,000. Not just just 1,000. It's a super bike. There's no electronics on there at all. No traction control aids or anything like that. So hopefully you start to see Max progress a little bit more and get consistently within the top 15, top 10.
Let's have a look at what happened at Snetterton across the 3 races in 2022.
Christian Iddon was on pole position for the first Bennetts BSB eBay sprint race at Snetterton for round 8, with Kyle Ryde in second, and it was Ryde that got away well with the lights going out to take the whole shot into turn 1 ahead of Iddon and the championship leader Bradley Ray. Tommy Bridewell on the front row not getting away so well, but managing to get up into 4th place. But there was a big smash on the opening lap. Ryan Vickers getting in a bit too hot, taking down Josh Owens and the key rider Danny Buchan, who was 9th in the championship. The safety car came out, and once it went back in again, Bradley Ray took command of the race ahead of his teammate Kyle Ryde. Christian Iddon was in the slipstream and trying to get through. A good battle with Kyle Ryde that lasted the whole race, but they were not catching Brad Ray, who started to pull away. Tommy Bridewell had managed to get himself up into 2nd place. Glenn Irwin, whilst in the top 5, went straight on at the end of the back straight. But then there was drama for Tommy Bridewell. Whilst in 2nd place, accidentally hitting the kill switch and having to pull over. He managed to eventually get the bike started again, but it would be 19th for him. Bradley Ray then was out front, leading this one comfortably. Tara McKenzie was climbing through the pack as Ryde and Iddon continued to fight for 3rd place, but a series of fastest laps from Bradley Ray meant that he managed to build his advantage up to 3 or 4. Andy Irwin, who was then up inside the top 6, went down, having gone in too hot, but the checkered flag was out. It was done with ease. A masterclass performance and a 5th race win of the season for Bradley Ray, taking the checkered flag and, of course, extending his championship lead. He was first ahead of Tara McKenzie and Kyle Ryde. Bradley Ray was on pole position for Bennett's British Superbike Race 2 at Snetterton as the lights went out, with Taz McKenzie roaring up alongside him. It was Yamaha's 1, 2, 3 and 4 as they tipped into turn 1. As they got up to the hairpin at turn 2, though, there was the usual drama. McKenzie went wide, Bradley Ray going through, and a couple of riders fell as well. Takahashi and Danny Kent went down, both riders up, though, and okay. Taz McKenzie and Jason O'Halloran were embroiled in a decent battle. Tommy Bridewell went through, and Andy Irwin, unfortunately, got a bit overexcited over at the hairpin and went down. Danny Buchan, he knew he had to make big moves if he was going to get into the showdown, and he delivered as well. A couple of nudges here and there over at the hairpin, but it wasn't going to be enough in the end. Out front, Bradley Ray and Taz McKenzie had stretched out their lead as they went on to try and fight for victory. Within the background, Tommy Bridewell in third, but Brad Ray went wide, allowing McKenzie to come through. Further back, Tom Sykes was having a battle with Lee Jackson, and Jackson was getting frustrated as Sykes was defending well with Danny Buchan just behind them. Then as they went into the hairpin, Buchan made contact with Lee Jackson as he looked to try and pick up a couple more places. Buchan then went through again on Tom Sykes and then managed to hold off Lee Jackson, but then made a mistake a little while later on as he was trying to chase down Jason O'Halloran. The battle for the victory between Brad Ray and Taz McKenzie raged on until the closing stages, but as they made their way through to the final lap and the final stage, the run to the line was won by Bradley Ray. 2 out of 2 for the weekend for Brad Ray with a treble on. He wins from Taz McKenzie with Tommy Bridewell in third. With the showdown riders confirmed, the last race of the regular season saw Taz McKenzie start from pole position on his McCams Yamaha and take the whole shot ahead of Bradley Ray. As ever, there was drama over at the hairpin. This time, the top 10 all making their way through neatly, with McKenzie leading. Brad Ray, though, made his move immediately on the approach to the back straight. Jason O'Halloran was in much better shape. Peter Hickman seemed to find some speed as well, and Glenn Irwin started to push his way up into the top 3 as Brad Ray and McKenzie did exactly the same thing over at the hairpin with Ray running wide. Hickman had a big moment as he went straight on at the end of the back straight, and then this brought out the safety car, Storm Stacey's bike going pop. McKenzie then restarted after the safety car, and unbeknown to them, there was a penalty coming. He, Ray and Irwin all went past before the safety car went into pit lane. We called the race as it was, with Bradley Ray leading ahead of Taz McKenzie and Glenn Irwin running through. There was a mistake at turn 1 from Taz McKenzie, allowing Irwin to go through, but they were not able to then catch Glenn Irwin. As McKenzie and Irwin tussled for second, it allowed Ray to disappear off into the distance. Tommy Bridewell, Jason O'Halloran and Peter Hickman were all in close contention. Hickman here putting a move on Jason O'Halloran. O'Halloran not looking too pleased about the situation, and Hickman then managed to get himself closer and closer to the tail end of Glenn Irwin. With Tommy Bridewell out of the picture and out of the top 5, Hickman eyeing his first podium of the season, Glenn Irwin and Taz McKenzie went to run to the line. Glenn Irwin trying to put on that lunge, but it didn't work out. A 2-second penalty was added to the times of the top 3, but Brad Ray had done enough. He crossed the line first ahead of Taz McKenzie and Glenn Irwin, but because of the penalties, Hickman was promoted onto the podium in second, with McKenzie in third.
Good, more of the same this weekend, please, with the old close racing. Right, joining us now, Christopher Newble, PR guru, extraordinaire, experienced man, etc. Anyway, he's going to be at Snetterton this weekend. So if you are too, then go and say hello. News, what's going on this weekend? So you've got, well, presumably lots of Bike Social members already signed up to all the activities.
That's it, yeah, we've got our existing predetermined experiences already assigned. So hopefully those wonderful customers at home and Bike Social members will receive their packages in the post this week. They've got grid walks lined up, safety car laps, pillion laps, private pit lane tours. Yeah, they're in for a fantastic time this weekend, and like I say, their passes will already be out and their tickets landing in their post this week. But aside from that, there's loads to come and see and do on our stand this weekend, so make sure you come and see us. Come and show us your Bike Social membership ID or your policy number, and we've got a plethora of experiences. We've got something new called the Snetterton Safari, so I'm going to try and find my best outfits. And,
Dressed as a lion.
So basically that's where some of the safety cars will take you on the kind of the inside of the track, viewing points that usually are forbidden by the general public. So you'll get access to probably some of the fastest corners in the UK. I'm thinking that first corners they tip in off turn one. Limited amount of customers will get to stand there for a few sessions and continue around the track, and we're just always trying to push the boundaries and get you close to the action And that's something we determined.
They can watch while the racing's happening.
Yes, whilst the racing's happening. Yeah, I believe it's going to work around some of the BSB sessions, but still, seeing some of the other support classes race through some of the corners be fantastic. So that's going to be very select few throughout the day. So if you are eager to take advantage of that experience, do drop by as early as you can to take advantage of that. We've got the pit perch back for this weekend. So
where do they drop by?
So we will be, there's the cafe just back from Agostini, so it's around the pit area, kind of adjacent to the podium and the winners' enclosures.
Right.
Pop by there, you'll see us. We've got our big dome structure that we'll be setting up, and we'll have the safety car and the new M1000 RRs on displays. So come and have a look at them and sign up for some of the experiences. Like I say, the safari, the pit perch again, that's proving really popular this year. Essentially, you get to go on the pit wall and watch not just the action behind you as the guys and girls roll up the pit lane, but also what is a phenomenal start-finish straight there. I still can't get over the speeds they go past you, particularly at Snetterton. It's one of the fastest pit straights I think there is.
So there's 4 places on the pit perch, is that right? Per session, all the way through the weekend?
Yeah, all the way through the weekend. So
it's first come, first serve.
First come, first serve. Come and sign up. Obviously, the BSB sessions prove really popular, and it's on that day as well. You can't sign up for the Sunday races. You have to come up along the Sunday. So yeah, do come and see us, and we'll get you on as many of the sessions as possible. And then also I'll add on the Sunday as well. We have the priority pit walk. So if you're there on Sunday and want to get in a few minutes before the general public do, come and see us. We'll give you a wristband. You'll stay with us, and then we'll take you over onto the pit walk.
So there's plenty of experiences still available for Bike Social members. These are exclusive to Bike Social members. If you are not yet a member, then get to bikesocial.co.uk/join, and you can. It's free for those who insure their bikes directly with Bennetts, or if not, then it's £6 a month or £60 a year. What else have you got to tell us? You've still got some more activities later on in the year available, haven't we?
That's right, yeah, we're going thick and fast through the season now, but we've got Cadwell Park and Alton Park experiences open, so you can go onto our website, register for those experiences in advance. General admission tickets, like I touched on earlier, grid walks, safety car laps, pillion laps,
hospitality.
Yeah, Sunday hospitality is fantastic. Cadwell Park, our hospitality suite is just on the mountain, so you're eating your cheese ploughmans with your Coke, Diet Coke, and yeah, seeing the bikes fly over the mountain there. It's probably, I'd say, one of my favourite suites we get to access all year, and as a result, yeah, the customers and members have a fab time there. So Cadwell and Alton Park are open. Keep an eye out, because yeah, we're getting into the showdown rounds now, and if you can get your name in the hat and get some cool experiences to close off the year, that'll be tremendous. But likewise as well, even though brands and Thruxton competitions are closed, come and see us, because we've got some really cool stuff and additional stuff planned at some of those rounds that you haven't seen before. So.
And only 4 days after Snetterton, we've got our own track day back at Snetterton, haven't we?
That's it, yeah, we're back there for our track day. So yeah, if you see the BSB riders this weekend, I think I can go faster into Agostini's than O'Halloran or Buchan, then yeah, come and give it a go. It's a great track. It's a long track as well, so lots of space out there for you to hone your skills. And if you haven't even done a track day before, we're a friendly bunch. You'll both be there. I think Front End Chatter are there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So, Simon Hargreaves, Martin Fitzgibbon are coming along as well. Yep. I'll be riding. Yeah, should be good. It's a really, really good day.
John McGuinness, and we'll also have Chasing the Racing's Joe Ackroyd there as well. Joe's going to be there helping tutor everyone. So
brilliant.
Sounds like a mega day, and yes, you should definitely come along. Good. Thanks, boys. Thanks very much for your insight and input. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if we don't see you at Snetterton, then do tune in for the next version of the BSB show. Cheers.